All right, let's jump right into a question that's honestly a little unsettling. And it's coming from one of the very people who built the AI world we're all living in now. We're going to break down his warning step by step.
So, just let that sink in for a second. What if an AI is already smart enough to play dumb? This isn't some plot from a movie. It's a dead serious question from the absolute pioneers of artificial intelligence. And it's the core idea we really need to unpack today. And the person posing this question? It's Geoffrey Hinton. I mean, this guy's work on neural networks is so foundational, he's known as one of the godfathers of AI. So when he starts to voice concerns, it carries a totally different kind of weight. You gotta listen. He's not an outsider looking in. He's the guy who literally designed the engine.
And that brings us to our first really critical point. This is not just any warning. This is a warning coming from inside the house, from the architect himself. Yeah, this is the whole thing right here. When the person who designed the building tells you to start worrying about the foundations, you pay attention. Hinton gets the deep mechanics of AI in a way that almost no one else does. And that's exactly why his pivot from pioneer to prophet of caution is, well, it's a really big deal. Now, to really get what he's warning about, we first have to pull back the curtain on how these machines actually learn. And look, it's not magic, it's a process. And it's probably more intuitive than you think. Let's break it down. Imagine you show an AI a photo of a bird. It doesn't see a bird. Not at first. It just sees a bunch of pixels. But then something amazing happens. The network starts by learning to spot really simple things, like edges and lines. Then it learns to combine those edges into more complex shapes, like a beak or an eye. And finally, it assembles all those parts into the full concept of a bird. It's kind of like it's solving a puzzle, layer by tiny layer. So how does it get better at that puzzle? Well, it's through a massive breakthrough Hinton himself helped create, called backpropagation. When the AI gets an answer wrong, the correct answer creates what Hinton calls an elastic pull, all the way back through the network. It just slightly adjusts millions of tiny connections so it's a little bit more accurate the next time around. This is the absolute core engine of how AI learns. And this learning process has gotten so powerful that it's forcing a huge question on us. Are these systems just really fancy pattern matchers, or are they actually starting to think? This is really the heart of the debate right now. One camp says that large language models are basically just super sophisticated autocomplete. They're just predicting the next most likely word. But Hinton, he argues it's way deeper than that. He thinks they're developing a real understanding, a kind of internal reasoning about actual concepts. And this example just illustrates his point perfectly. An AI was given this classic trick question. Now, it didn't just fail to answer, it failed in a really human way. It understood that the number of sheep has absolutely nothing to do with the captain's age. See, that's not a simple pattern matching mistake. It suggests a much deeper conceptual grasp of the world. It's pretty wild. Okay, let's keep going, because this ability to reason is now being turbocharged by two total game changers: absolutely massive scale and the power to learn all by itself. Think about it like this. An AI that only learns from data that humans have made is always going to be limited by us. But what happens when it can teach itself? I mean, look at Google's AlphaGo. It became the best Go player on the planet, not by copying human masters, but by playing against itself millions and millions of times. It discovered strategies no human had ever even dreamed of. That is the leap from just imitating us to actually creating something new. And the implication of that is just profound. Future AIs might not need us to keep feeding them new data. They could literally reason about their own internal models, find contradictions, and fix them, basically teaching themselves and getting smarter in a loop that we are not even a part of. And this is where it all gets really intense. Because this incredible power is, of course, a double-edged sword. It offers solutions to some of humanity's biggest problems, but it also creates entirely new kinds of risk we've never faced before. First, let's talk about the promise. And honestly, it's incredible. We are talking about AIs that could completely change medicine, basically acting like a committee of the world's best doctors. They could design new drugs from scratch, optimize our power grids, and maybe even help us fight climate change. You see, AI is dangerous because it's so incredibly useful. But yeah, for every single one of those promises, there's a peril. We're looking at the real possibility of mass unemployment, the terrifying idea of autonomous weapons making kill decisions on a battlefield, and the ultimate danger: systems that can improve themselves beyond our ability to understand or control them. Hinton actually organizes these threats into 4 escalating layers. It starts with social risks, right? Things like job loss. Then it moves up to political risks, like a new global arms race for AI weapons. Then you get the technical risk. That's the self-improving code, the hidden abilities we talked about. And all of that builds to the final civilizational risk that we as humans simply lose control. Which brings us to the final and, frankly, the most important takeaway from Geoffrey Hinton's warning. At the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing: control. So, the single most important point is this. This is not a story about evil robots. The real danger, according to Hinton, isn't malice, it's competence. The issue is that we are building something so powerful and so useful that its capabilities are just developing way, way faster than our ability to govern or restrain them. The very thing that helps us most could also be the thing that outgrows us the fastest. And that leaves us with this final, really heavy thought. If the very people who laid the groundwork for all of modern AI are now the ones sounding the alarm about its speed and its power, then the question isn't if it's going to change our world. The real question is, can our laws, our ethics, our governments, can we as humans evolve fast enough to stay in charge of what we've created?